ladies and gentlemen, there are other players out there not named Juan Soto. Don't worry, we're going to be covering all things Juan Soto until he signs, but we got the biggest trade chip on the market this offseason in the news. John Morosi has this. The Cubs and the Reds are among the viable candidates to acquire White Sox ace Garrett Crochet. He goes on to say that the Cubs and the White Sox have made 4 trades since 2017, beginning with the Jose Quintana deal. Now, we all know the deal with Garrett Crochet. He's very good, coming off a breakout year, a 4.7 FanGraph wins above replacement this year in his first season as a starter. 32 starts, 146 innings pitched, ERA at a 3.58, FIP at a 2.69. Very good strikeout to walk ratio. He's only 25 years old. I see this guy getting even better over the next couple of years, but it's also not just the fact that he's good. He's also cheap as well. He's in his arbitration years, so you got a talented pitcher that's cheap. Yeah, he's going to be highly sought after and has a couple of years of control as well. Now, taking a look at the fit with the Chicago Cubs, they just signed Matthew Boyd, coming off a small sample size this year with the Guardians, pitched well in the regular season and in the postseason. I think that has potential to be a very good signing, a good value signing if he stays healthy over the next year, over the next couple of years, I mean. But the fact that you already have 3 lefties in this rotation, you got Imanaga, Steele, Boyd, and then you would add Crochet along with it. Now, I know that would improve the ceiling of the rotation. You know, any team would love to add Garrett Crochet, but I just wonder, will the Cubs want to add a 4th lefty in this rotation? I mean, hey, we've seen some weird things before. They could definitely get something done here. They definitely got some position player prospects that would intrigue the White Sox, at least I would think. Now, Matt Shaw, I think he's probably going to be off the table. I think Matt Shaw is going to be very good. I think the Cubs highly value him. You know, Nico Horner, he's been on the trade block. If he ends up getting moved, I wouldn't be surprised to see Matt Shaw maybe get a chance to win the job in spring training. I think this guy is going to be a gamer. You know, guys like Owen Casey, you got Moises Ballesteros, you got James Triantos, Kevin Alcantara here. So I think the Cubs, they have an intriguing group of players that they could send back that maybe the White Sox would like. But in the end, though, I just wonder if the Cubs would want to add a 4th lefty. I don't know. Cubs fans, let me know. You know, what would you want to do there? We'll see. But the team that I actually find pretty intriguing here are the Cincinnati Reds. Now, the rotation here, you got Hunter Green. You just brought in Brady Singer from the Royals. You got Andrew Abbott. You brought Nick Martinez back, Nick Lodolo. He had his ups and downs this past year, but I still think he has a very bright future. Remember, he was working his way back from injury this past year, but I feel like they could still improve the ceiling of this rotation. Don't forget, Rhett Lauder is going to be probably going to be coming up this year to be a full-time member in the rotation. Remember, they did just draft Chase Burns as well. But if you're looking to improve the ceiling of the rotation now, I think Garrett Crochet would be a good add. Now, recently I did a video on Garrett Crochet landing spots. I kind of overlooked the Reds, to be honest. At the time, I'm thinking, I don't know if the Reds really make a move. But now that I look back on it, I'm actually going to backtrack there. I think they could actually be a pretty intriguing landing spot. And the reason being is they have a lot of position players, especially young position players that are under a lot of control that I think could entice the White Sox. Now, I got a couple of ideas here. The first idea is to put together a package like this: Christian Encarnacion Strand, Cam Collier, Noelvi Marte, and Chase Petty. Now, I think this could really help the Reds because obviously they're getting Garrett Crochet, but this would open up a lot of flexibility within the lineup. Christian Encarnacion Strand, you know, sure, good power potential with him, but this is a guy that I feel like is a bit of a logjam here. If you could send him back to the White Sox, who has 5 more seasons of control, that gives them a cost-controlled power hitter for the middle of the order, and they really need some impact bats there, in my opinion. I'm also sending back Noelvi Marte in this deal. Remember, he got suspended this past year. I feel like he could use a bit of a change of scenery, right? Didn't do very well this year after coming back from the suspension, and he has a lot more control. Former top prospect in the game. I think he could be a valuable piece to the White Sox moving forward. And then also in this deal, a couple of prospects to go along with it. Cam Collier, this is a guy who was a first-round pick not too long ago, had a pretty decent year in the minor leagues this year. As of right now, he is the number 5 prospect, and this year, overall, put up a 798 OPS at high A. So I think there is good potential there. You know, you could maybe send back another position player, but in this one, I'll throw in a picture. Why not? Chase Petty, hard-throwing guy, has an awesome fastball with a wicked slider to go along with it. I think this could be a guy that could end up being a future stud in the rotation for you. I know the White Sox are looking for position players, so maybe you can just switch them out with someone else, maybe someone like Sammy Stafur Segura, Tyson Lewis, whatever it may be. Edwin Arroyo, I know he was hurt this past year. He missed all this year with a shoulder surgery. So, maybe you could do someone like him. Either way, I think the Reds definitely could be a trade partner here. I do think the Reds need to move a player or two at the major league level to give them a bit more flexibility. For example, if you move Christian Encarnacion Strand, that could open up the DH spot for someone like Anthony Santander, who could bounce back and forth between the outfield and DH. Same thing with someone like Tyler O'Neill. If they move Noelvi Marte, you could move Spencer Steer to the third base spot and again, go after a big bat like Santander or Tyler O'Neill. So I think that creates a lot of possibilities for the Reds. Now, another idea I have is maybe they could get involved as a third team. Maybe the Phillies, who have been connected with Garrett Crochet, they could end up landing him, and maybe the Reds could send back TJ Friedl in the deal, who has popped up a little bit on the trade block. He missed a lot of time this past year with injuries, but he was very good a couple of years ago. So that could open up center field for the Reds, and that could open up maybe the possibility of Matt McClain moving out there. Maybe someone like Spencer Steer can move into second base, and again, you could go after an outfield bat. So in this deal overall, I have Garrett Crochet, TJ Friedl going to the Phillies, and then going to the White Sox, we got Noelvi Marte, Starlin Caba, Justin Crawford, Gabriel Rincones coming from the Phillies, so you can combine those prospects to create a package. And going to the Reds could be Alec Bohm here. So, maybe the Reds could add an impact bat like Alec Bohm, who has been on the trade block himself. That could give them an upgrade at third base over Noelvi Marte, who I think could use a bit of change of scenery. And Alec Bohm is under control for the next couple of years. So, maybe something like that. Maybe the Reds could get involved as a third team. But either way, the more I think about it, I think the Reds could be a possible landing spot for Garrett Crochet. And of course, don't forget about the other teams. The Red Sox have been mentioned as a possible landing spot for a while now. I think that makes a lot of sense. They have a lot of good position players at the minor league level they could send back, or possibly someone like Willie Abreu, who is major league ready, has 5 more seasons of club control. They could definitely use someone like Garrett Crochet. They could definitely use a lefty in this rotation as well. I would not count out the Mets. I know they just brought in Frankie Montas, but they still need to add to this rotation, in my opinion. They have some good position player prospects at the top of their farm. You can never count out the Yankees when it comes to making a trade. Brian Cashman usually likes to be aggressive on the trade front. I could definitely see them making an upgrade to this rotation somehow without spending money on the free agent market. I think it's more likely you could have the Yankees go try to swing a trade instead of signing, someone like Corbin Burns to big money or whatever it may be. The Toronto Blue Jays, they could use a lefty in this rotation. I don't know if they really have the prospects to get it done, good impact position player prospects, but the Blue Jays, they like to be aggressive. We'll just have to wait and see where Crochet ends up. Also, just want to point out this article here from the Seattle Times. It goes on to say, Alec Bohm has been the most popular name linked to the Mariners in trade speculation early in the offseason. In initial trade talks between the two clubs, the Phillies asked for one of the Mariners' top pitchers, Logan Gilbert or George Kirby, in exchange for Bohm, a source with knowledge of the discussion said. Now, I think Bohm would be a good add for the Mariners. Remember, they didn't bring back Josh Rojas. They decided not to tender him a contract. So as of right now, Dylan Moore is projected to be the third baseman, but he's more of a bench guy, a guy that can move around. He has good speed as well. I don't see him being the third baseman. I think Alec Bohm would be a good fit here. Now, Bohm had a pretty good year overall. He was a lot better in the first half, but he fell off in the second half. He got hurt towards the end of the year, ended up getting benched in the postseason because of performance, and there have been some rumors about maturity and attitude issues with him. But in the end, looking at the player, I think he would be a good addition for the Mariners. But no, there's no way you're going to give up George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, or even Brian Wu or Bryce Miller to that point. Those guys are way more valuable than Alec Bohm at this point. Now, as of right now, he's got a $26 million median value. I think that's a pretty fair number. Bohm is projected to be right around a 3-win player over the next couple of years. That's worth a total of $48 million. He's projected to make right around $20 million over the next couple of years in arbitration. So the difference is right around, that 26 to, $28 million range. So I think that's a pretty fair value. I just don't think you're going to get back a guy like Kirby or Gilbert or Wu or Miller. Those guys have much more control. They're much more valuable. I could maybe see a package centered around someone like Tyler Locklear. But then again, I don't know. I feel like the Phillies would want something a little bit more impactful at the major league level. We'll just have to wait and see on that. But the Mariners, they would be a good fit for Bohm. Speaking of third baseman, the Astros are still trying to figure out a way to keep Alec Alex Bregman in the fold. Chandler Rome of The Athletic goes into a bit more detail on the Astros offseason. He goes on to say here, General Manager Dana Brown has maintained the biggest priority is retaining third baseman Alex Bregman. He goes on to say that nothing is off the table during an offseason in which he acknowledged the Astros may have to get a little bit creative. He goes on to say a little further down in the article that making either Kyle Tucker or Framber Valdez available in trade discussions may be the easiest path for Houston to balance its present and future. Now, we all know Kyle Tucker is one of the better bats in Major League Baseball. Going back over the last 4 years, he's averaged right around a 5 wins above replacement. This guy is going to get a fat paycheck when he enters free agency next offseason. He's in the middle of his prime. I would not be surprised at all to see him get around $35 million per year. I still think he is one of the more underrated bats in the game. I just think he doesn't really fit that superstar mold, but he's just so good. Every year always has good production. He did miss some time this past year. He was injured, but he still put up great numbers. A 180 WRC plus, a 585 on the slugging. He had a 4.2 wins above replacement over 78 games. He had a 4.2 WAR over half a season. That is just stupid. But Kyle Tucker, he is going to be going into free agency. The Astros, are they going to be wanting to pay $35 million per year over, say, a 7 or an 8-year deal for Kyle Tucker? I don't know. They've let a lot of guys walk over the last several years, like George Springer, like Carlos Correa, maybe Alex Bregman this offseason. Kyle Tucker, I don't know, the Astros, I've said this repeatedly on this channel, they don't usually dive into the huge contracts. They have spent a little bit over the last couple of off seasons, but not for, a contract like that where you're probably going to be going over $300 million for Kyle Tucker. So, and combine that with the fact that the Astros farm system doesn't rank very well as of right now across the major outlets, like Baseball America, for example. They need to add a bit more beef to this farm system, and they could use some cost-controlled major league ready players to help keep them competitive, because they are in a competitive window right now. You still got talent on this team. So I could see Kyle Tucker being a trade piece this offseason, kind of like where you saw Juan Soto get moved last offseason, right? The Padres were looking to cut some payroll, but they wanted to stay competitive as well. So that's why they brought back Michael King in the deal, who still had a couple more years of club control, but was going to be good for the rotation. They got a couple of prospects along with that, like Drew Thorpe, who they ended up using in the Dylan Cease trade. So I could see a similar situation here for Kyle Tucker. Now, for Framber Valdez, I feel like the Astros are probably going to hang on to him. I don't know. I just feel like they probably just need to hang on to the pitching depth because there are question marks health-wise. You are going to be getting Luis Garcia back this year. You never know with Lance McCullers Jr. He's always going to be an injury risk. Justin Verlander, maybe he could come back. I just feel like they probably need to keep their rotation intact. That's just the way I feel about it. But Kyle Tucker, I think if they could find a team that is ready to really go for a World Series, kind of like the Yankees with Juan Soto last offseason, right? I'll go back to the Dodgers back in 2020 when they made the move for Mookie Betts. I could see similar trades like that. Now, one idea could possibly be with the Phillies. Maybe they could bring back Alec Bohm in the deal if they don't bring back Alex Bregman. I mean, you could even see a situation, maybe you could have Alec Bohm move over to first, even if you bring back Alex Bregman. So I could see a situation like that where you get a cost-controlled player for the next couple of years, maybe toss in a few prospects to go along with him, and, that could end up being something that could help them at the major league level and also replenish that farm system a little bit. You got some other prospects here. Maybe you could throw in guys like Dante Nori, maybe you got someone like Devin Saltabon here, Griffin Burkholder, someone like Mick Abel, I feel like could use a change of scenery. There's still a lot of projection there with him. Someone like Gabriel Rincones Jr. Maybe they could even push for one of these top guys like Eduardo Tate, Starlin Cabo, Justin Crawford, for example. So, I could see the Phillies being a team here that, they're trying to refresh some things, maybe bring in Kyle Tucker for right field, maybe move Nick Castellanos in a separate deal, something along those lines. So Kyle Tucker, wouldn't be surprised if his name came up this offseason. Let's wrap this up with another third baseman out there, Nolan Arenado, and it's been no secret that he's been on the trade block this offseason with the Cardinals, reportedly looking to cut payroll, and it has been reported that he would be willing to waive his no-trade clause to go to a contender. Now, he did put this on Instagram a couple of days ago with the song Dodger Blue by Kendrick Lamar. So everyone started freaking out thinking, oh my goodness, is he finally going to the Dodgers after all these years? What was it, 4 or 5 years ago, where it was a slam dunk that he was going to be going to the Dodgers? He grew up a Dodger fan, I guess. He's a California guy. So yeah, everyone's kind of waiting for Nolan Arenado to eventually go to the Dodgers. Could this be the offseason? Well, Max Muncy went on Foul Territory, and he was asked, what would he think about the possibility of an addition of Arenado? Remember, Max Muncy is the current third baseman for the LA Dodgers, and he quoted here saying, as long as you put me out there, I'll play left field, right field, third, first. I'll play wherever they want to put me, as long as it means I'm out there on the field wearing Dodger blue, playing in that stadium. It doesn't matter to me. When you're talking about Arenado, you're talking about arguably the best defensive third baseman of all time at this point. If you look at his numbers, I can see why it would be appealing. To me, it doesn't matter. If it's becoming more of a role player, I don't care. I just want to help the team win. Now, with the Dodgers, we all know what's been going on with the Dodgers. They're just adding talent like they're going to a candy store and picking out whatever the heck they want. Arenado would just be another star in this lineup. My goodness, could you imagine adding Arenado to all of this star power they already have? Now, when it comes to the defense, now Max Muncy's not a bad defender by any means. Pretty average for the most part. He gets the job done at third base. Arenado would definitely be an upgrade defensively. When it comes to the offense with Arenado, that's where people have question marks, right? The batted ball metrics have been dipping a little bit over the last couple of years, but with Arenado, I think you would see a bit of a boost when it comes to the numbers at Dodger Stadium. When we take a look at the expected home runs, he's at 18, which would be a couple of more than he hit this past year. And the Dodgers, they do have a good track record recently of bringing in guys and getting more out of them. Look at Teoscar Hernandez this past year. He was regressing with the numbers the past couple of years prior to coming to the Dodgers, and he ended up having one of the best seasons of his career. Look at Jason Hayward, right? It looked like Jason Hayward had completely fallen off. They brought him in last year, a couple of years ago, and they got a lot out of him. Maybe they could do the same thing with Nolan Arenado. This would definitely be spicy. And if you think of the contract of Arenado, he's owed quite a bit of money left on that deal. I mean, the Dodgers at this point, money doesn't even seem to be a factor. Now, I think when it comes to a trade, getting back some equal value, I think the Cardinals will have to eat some of that contract a little bit, but the Dodgers definitely have some prospects they could send back to the Cardinals that I think would be appealing. I don't think you're looking at a top prospect like Dalton Rushing. I think you could probably look at a couple of, guys maybe in the 8 to 15 range, to possibly get it done. Either way, the Dodgers, I think, would be a good match. If Max Muncy is willing to move to another position, you could move Max Muncy over to second base. Mookie could be your shortstop. Gavin Lux, maybe he could either go to the bench or you could use him in a trade somewhere else. We'll just have to wait and see. But everyone, those are my thoughts for this video today. Tell me your thoughts down below in the comments. What do you think of the Garrett Crochet rumors? What do you think about Alec Bohm? Maybe Nolan Arenado going to the Dodgers? What do you think about the Astros for this offseason? Do you think Kyle Tucker could end up getting traded? Let me know down below in the comments. But everyone, that's all I got for this video. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.